So while we're having some other folks join us, I just was going to see if any of our CSJ board members who are on the call want to introduce themselves and just say a couple words. I see Colette Dollarhide on the call. I don't know if you want to say a couple words. Colette, put you on the spot a little bit.
Oh, I'm always happy to talk, but I just am very excited about this. I know Rachel and Sean have just been terrific co-chairs for the membership committee and the work they're doing and trying to connect members and provide support for the development of new chapters for people who are thinking about creating a chapter. It's just been absolutely fabulous. So I'm really pleased to be here, and welcome to everyone who's here. Thank you.
Thanks, Colette. I think I saw Franny there. Franny, do you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Hi, everybody. This is Franny Neal, the Communications Officer and Conference Committee Chair. I'm very happy to be here. I was president of my chapter at the University of Arizona, and it was a really great experience. So learned a lot and hoping that, I might be able to help others. So thank you guys for coordinating this. Thanks.
Thank you. Wonderful. Selma, I know you're going to be talking later on. Do you want to say a couple words now as we're getting started?
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. It is so great to see so many people here. We have just started our student chapter at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. We're happy to help to tell you guys about some of the lessons that we've learned. And really happy to see you all, happy for the enthusiasm, especially from students.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Somebody let me know if there are other people I should put on the spot. I can't see everybody, so. Margarita, do you want to introduce yourself as a AMCD leader?
Oh my, what an honor. Hi, CSJ folk. My name is Margarita Martinez. I'm actually the president-elect of AMCD, the Association of Multicultural Counseling and Development. And actually, the first interactions I had with ACA was SAGE, which used to be Algebra Tech, and CSJ, because I'm an alumni from Mason. And you can't do Mason without social justice, right? So I'm excited to be here. We're thinking about starting a Virginia. I know there's a GMU chapter in the works, but a Virginia chapter as well. So I'm happy to be here. I'm excited and enthused, and I love students and everyone. I'm just hyped to be here. Thanks for letting me speak. I'll shut down.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I think we can move forward now. Just encourage everybody to keep introducing themselves in the chat if they're able to. I said this early on, but I'm Rachel Goodman. I'm a professor at George Mason University. I'm co-chair of the membership committee along with Dr. Sean Smith. He had a teaching obligation tonight, so he can't be with us, unfortunately, but he is certainly here in spirit and has been doing a ton of work that we'll talk about later on as well. So let me see if I can move us through. So this is basically what we're going to focus on tonight. We're going to have each chapter that's with us tonight, the 3 chapters, talk about some of the things that they've been doing, make some recommendations for best practices, and then we'll try to save space as well for discussion, questions that folks might have, and just opportunities for connection. And then I'll just share some final thoughts and contact information, that kind of thing. So that is our agenda. So I am going to now turn it over to our first chapter that we're showcasing here, the Mississippi State University chapter. So hopefully you can see all the wonderful information that they put together for us about their chapter, and I will turn it over to them. I know I saw Chiquita on the call. I'm not sure if other folks from the chapter are also going to speak, but Chiquita, the floor is yours. Uh-oh, I think we may have lost Chiquita. I saw Chiquita, are you there now?
I just let her back in, so
Oh, good. Okay.
not sure what happened.
Yeah, it looks like she's been getting maybe kicked out and coming back in. So
That's
let's
normally
do,
the internet. Yeah.
yeah, let's do this. Let's move to our next chapter and we can come back. Oh, Chiquita, I see you.
Okay.
There
Hey.
you are. The floor is yours if you want to share some of the awesome work you guys have been doing at Mississippi State.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm sorry I was needing to go out and come back in because my video wasn't working. I'm really excited about tonight, and I see some of our MSU faces. It's wonderful to see everybody here. Some of the things that we're doing at Mississippi State, we're a really new chapter. We have been given quite a lot of help and support. Franny has been really helpful and instrumental in helping us get our initial things going. We've had some support from the UT Rio Grande chapter in some of our outreach efforts. And a lot of our core support really comes from our faculty advisor, and that is Dr. Joan Luby. So just to kind of go over some of the things that we're planning, our initiatives are things that we've done, that we're planning, and that we're in collaboration with others to do. So one of the things that we're planning, and with COVID, we have to be really creative to figure out how we're going to get this done, is our departmental symposium. And the goal of this is to get all of our department faculty on board with social justice initiatives and having a single voice for what social justice means, even though we know that ACA has established and our organization is and provides a wonderful outline for what we should be doing. I think that sometimes people can have their own individual context for what that looks like, and I think that's okay. But in terms of our university, we wanted to make sure that our program was in line with the things that needed to be done nationally, and also that we were demonstrating social justice in the things that we did in our community, and we weren't just having a single multicultural class and then that was the extent of social justice or advocacy type things that we were physically doing. We know that KCREP requires there to be all these components in all of our classes, but we wanted to make sure that there were some active things going on. So that's part of our symposium initiative. And we were recently given an opportunity to provide some insights to our department faculty in terms of what we would like to see in our department. And Mississippi State, as I'm sure most of you guys are aware, is a predominantly white institution, so we don't have a lot of faculty of color. We have one, there was just a new faculty that was hired that's a person of color. So now we have 2 people of color, which is, you know, we wanna be able to see a real diverse faculty. So that was one of the things that we expressed to faculty that we wanted to be able to see. And we also wanted to be able to see students of color really being highlighted for the work that they were doing. We wanted to make sure that there's a commitment in our department for social justice and social justice initiatives, and kind of, you know, something beyond the, oh, you guys are doing great work kind of thing, you know, and nothing, no kind of effort behind that. So one of the other things that we ask for is to have the commitment for social justice put on our brochures, put on things that are in the department, so that this is very clear that this is our push and our initiative as a counseling program at Mississippi State. Another thing that we're going to have underway is our Campus Hero Award. And this is something that we wanted to do to be able to highlight the service workers at the university, because there are opportunities for the faculty to be highlighted for the things that they do. But there are lots of service workers that really support social justice initiatives and support the students. You know, they're wonderful people that work in the on-demand cafes in our buildings that are encouraging the students when it's finals week, it's difficult. We want to be able to highlight those people, and we feel like that is an extension of social justice, because it's not just it can be the people who can sometimes be invisible, and we want to make sure that we provide a platform or some way to be able to appreciate and recognize those individuals. And one other thing that we're doing is several of us are involved in scholarly writing and research, which is challenging but rewarding at the same time. And this is because of our faculty advisor. So this is a collaboration. Our department, because of our faculty advisor, has a research group where we come together, we write about different topics. We're able to pitch topics that we want to write about. We're able to really figure out our areas where we need to work in terms of writing, things that we enjoy in terms of research. So most recently, a couple of us have written articles that are going to be published on breast cancer. We have some book chapters that we're working on, like we're in the second stage of getting edits back on these book chapters that have to do with foster care youth and the immigrant population. So for us, that's really important, because even though this is not a CSJ born initiative, it's an initiative that our membership is involved in, and I felt like it was important to highlight this because I wanted to demonstrate that there's so many ways that we can advocate. There's so many ways that we can expand social justice apart from the traditional ways that I think we think about as students. Like we usually think about, we're gonna form a coalition and we're gonna go out and we're gonna boycott stuff and we're gonna, you know, make these demands, but there are other ways for us to be able to be involved and to be able to have a voice, and that's adding to literature that has to do with populations that aren't always being discussed, or that are rarely being discussed, actually. And the last thing that I want to highlight is an initiative that we participated in last year and still have some ongoing participation. We had a really massive, I believe it was the largest ever in immigration history, where we had about 600 people that were arrested and detained at a poultry plant nearby. So for us at Mississippi State, it was about an hour and a half, but we coordinated together and went down and provided some support. We provided some holiday activities. We collected items for hygiene drive, and still actually have some church families nearby that are still donating things. So I've been quietly collecting those things so that we can make contact with the representatives at the church, which is in Morton, Mississippi. And we were coordinating with the Methodist Church. That was the only support, well, not the only, but that was the predominant support that the immigrant families were receiving. And the town really, it was only 3,000, the population is only 3,000. So if you have 600 of those individuals being detained and arrested and now not being able to work, it really puts a lot of strain on the community entirely. So this has been a highlight of the things that we're working on at Mississippi State, and we're just looking forward to continuing to do a whole lot of work and moving forward and providing as much support with others who want to start chapters. I hope that there are many chapters started. Thank you.
Me too. I hope so too. Thank you. And thank you for highlighting both the support that's already been shared between chapters. Like, I think that's really nice to hear. Like, oh, we received support and now we're offering to help others get started. That's part of what we want this forum about, having more of those connections, and also highlighting just the many different ways in which we can engage in social justice and in advocacy, right? Like you mentioned, scholarly writing, community support, like so many different, looking at your program, so many different ways in which we can push forward these initiatives based on what's meaningful to us in our specific communities, universities, states, etc. So that was a wonderful example. Thank you for sharing, and thank you to your team. Okay. let's see if I can. All right. So next up, we have the CSJ chapter, also at a university. This is at UT Rio Grande Valley. So let those folks take it away.
Can I have access to, because there are multiple slides. I don't know if it's possible for me to, so I can slide through the, hello? Is it breaking up on my part or no?
I think we can hear you okay. I'm wondering if we
Okay.
lost Rachel.
Can you hear me? I just made you a co-host, Alejandro.
Alex, did you hear that?
Yes, yes, I heard that. Am I already?
Yeah.
Can I? Or actually, am I? Or maybe I'll just, because I don't have access to the PowerPoint. I'll just, on the chat, I'll just go ahead and put enter.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I
And
made
that works.
you a co-host, but it may not work. So I can move it forward for you if you want.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure, of
So hi,
course. You ready
everyone.
for me to
Oh, no, sorry. In a little bit. Hi, everyone. My name is Alejandro Sanchez. I am one of the co-founders of CSJ-RGV, Counselors for Rio Grande Valley, Counselors for Social Justice Rio Grande Valley. Very quickly through our mission statement, and one thing that I do want to stress throughout the meeting presentation is the whole notion of patience. Because that's something that we've definitely learned at CSJ-RGV is that these kind of movements that we're trying to start within the institution, they will definitely take time. So real quickly through the mission statement that we drafted. So CSJ works to promote social justice and well-being through collaboration, education, and awareness of oppressive systems that affect the Rio Grande Valley. And so we'll go ahead and thank you. I'll just say next, thank you. And so one of the things that we pointed out, the oppressive system, is something that very early on we definitely wanted to acknowledge in our mission statement and in the philosophy of how we work. And the reason for that is because the region we live in, so the Rio Grande Valley, it's the epicenter for a lot of the political conversations that we have. And so not only that, but it's we mutually agreed upon it that it's a hyper-colonized area. We have a high intensity of border patrol and ICE, and even policing too. We have a large amount of state troopers in the area, and so the area itself is militarized, and so the work that we do has to be very strategic in the allies that we have, because we want to make sure that we maximize our efforts and that our allies are able to as well maximize our efforts. So very early on, I reached out to Dr. Itznaga, and we knew that the team we had to pick very much from the start had to embody that. So the number one thing was establish a core team that we put together. And so I knew we needed a co-sponsor. And so Dr. Haas very much embodied social justice in her work. And so we knew that she would be a vital asset. And then from the student aspect, we had me and other cohort members. But even then, we knew that their philosophy and their background and their livelihoods very much was social justice. So we knew that, you know, this whole notion of they had our backs. And then from the community aspect, we've had Crystal Carranza, who is very, very much involved in the organizations and nonprofits in the Rio Grande Valley. So yeah, so once we established this core team, the next slide, please. It goes down to developing your foundations, which, like I said, it's one of those whole notions of patience, 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 patience. And the reason for that is because you do have to build up the interest in the students and in the community. And we always emphasize the community orientation because, at least from my perspective, is we have to go beyond the ivory tower. We have to go beyond the institution and go out into the community. So very much in terms of CSJ-RGV, we're still working on that aspect. I would say that's where we're heading towards. But like I'm saying, going back to the whole notion of patience and like Dr. Itznaga mentioned, it's very much, we took a constructivist and ground approach. We started the organization from scratch. And like, for example, just the mission statement and our core values was something that did not happen overnight. And so like on the right, you have our picture of one of our meetings that we had, which was a small social. It was a small informal social, which was where we agreed, okay, let's put this together. Let's call this Counselors for Social Justice Rio Grande Valley. And that happened more or less around November. So we submitted our paperwork in around August. And so around November was when we finally had buy-in from multiple individuals, both community and students. And so in the middle, we have Dr. Haas. I'm sorry for putting that picture there. But it was a tamalada, which was where we were making tamales. So we tried to infuse a cultural aspect as well. The backgrounds of the region we live in. And so that's where, and then the next picture on the left side, where we went into the hashing out the mission statement and the core values and what it was that we stand for. And so even though we submitted our paperwork with CSJ in August, it wasn't until December when we had this tamalada that we were able to set up who we are and what we're looking to do. So definitely, like I said, patience. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so some of our quick points of pride is we were able to create a hybrid organization, which is a student and community aspect, and we're still working on fine-tuning that. And now I'll elaborate a bit more on what I meant. Counselors Without Borders affiliation, and then lastly, exposure to social justice. And like I said, I can't stress this enough, it's patience. And the reason for that as well is because even the logo that we have, and so you can see the logo on the on here on this flyer, and so I'm a little sorry if it's a little blurry. Let's try and go a little for the retro look. But yeah, so it's the palm trees, which is very much significant of the region. Our region, even though it's desert climate, it's still tropical as well. And so the palm trees, we decided had very meaning. And so the meaning behind the palm trees is they have roots and they are very firmly grounded. And so even through hurricanes, even through all these sufferings and moments that they go through, they're still able to stand. And so like that, yeah. So we take those metaphors, those imageries to very much also create the history of CSJ-RGV. And so very much going back to patients. So even social media, we started in August, we had our founding philosophies established around December, but it wasn't very much till January when we were able to have our social media. But even having social media was milestones. So we always had small milestones that have led to where we are right now. So next slide, please. And so creating a hybrid student organization. And so we do have our student chapter, which is through CSJ-RGV. And then we also have our community aspect, which the community aspect right now is our graduates from our program. And we're slowly trying to reach out to the community, to local practitioners who are very much embody the social justice mindset. And so we're still fine tuning and creating, that balance between students and community members. But a lot of what attracted us together is that we want to learn that social justice scholarship. And so we don't have that. I mean, we have that one course like Shakira mentioned, but that one course is not enough. And just for a little more context in our region, so our university is made a commitment to be bicultural and biliterate. But even then, our program has a huge opportunity to establish themselves as a bicultural and biculturally competent program, and even socially justice competent. But they're still that's where they're still lacking. Our program is, and so that's where we're trying to fill in definitely those areas. Okay, next slide, please. And so we do have an affiliation with Counselors Without Borders. Thank you through our faculty advisors. They were able to establish the connection. And so we have here our member, our Bernardo Mora, who was able to go and cross the border and go into the refugee camps and just participate in activities with the children to go ahead and be able to, take their mind off of the situation that they're in. Should I admit or?
I got it.
Okay, sorry. And so the biggest takeaway from this is that always try to establish yourself with local and national organizations that are doing the work that we need to be doing. And so this is what I meant, where we're slowly going more into the community aspect. And so we do have local nonprofits one that's called LUPE, La Unión del Pueblo Entero, who does a lot of immigration advocacy. Another organization is called Arise, which is very much with community activism, community involvement, civic engagement. So we're still in the early stages where we're trying to reach out to these organizations. COVID happened, and so we were slowly gearing towards that. And right now we're trying to get ourselves back together and trying to see like what kind of outreach can we do under these situations in these moments. Okay, next slide, please. And then the last one that we have been focusing on is definitely the exposure to social justice scholarship. And this is because, you know, we've been longing for this. And so, yeah, and so we were able to establish a network. Well, we were able to tap into the network that our faculty advisors bring, Dr. Isaga and Dr. Haas. And so we've been able to talk to individuals from all backgrounds in social justice. We've been, you know, we started off with our first meeting in August, and having Dr. Carlos Hipólito Delgado speak to us. And it was our very introduction. He was very much saying like, you know, you can't wait for the movement is here. Very much fiery passion that started our first meeting. And then we were able to dive into the indigenous aspect of cultural competencies, which with Dr. Manuel Samaripa, the whole notion of indigeneity and how that taps into counseling and mental health. And then right now, we will be having hosting Dr. Edil Torres Rivera, who will be talking to us about liberation psychology and just social justice in general. And so, yeah, we are trying to build up our social justice scholarship. We're trying to learn what's in the cutting edge right now, so that, you know, when we graduate, we already know it and we're able to apply it already. Yeah, so these are the main pillars. I think where we are right now is, and this is something that I still have to keep mentioning with the members, but like, for example, we had a meeting last week where we had community members attend, and so and they mentioned that the lack of resources, of mental health resources in this region. So it was an awakening call for me, especially because, you know, most of the times we take it for granted that our populations have access to the resources. And so hopefully in the future, you know, it'll go into connecting our communities to these resources, and something as simple as a wellness check, mostly because we don't have the training yet. We're not licensed yet, but, you know, being able to be the front lines to where we can connect our communities to the mental health services that we do offer, either in the university or through pro bono. But yeah, those are the projects that we are working towards in the future. And this is also going back to indigeneity too. We're also trying to learn more about that. And so we do have curanderos, which the loose translation is shamans in the region. And so, you know, trying to learn from them and bridge the gap between Western and indigenous based therapies. So yeah, those are our future endeavors. I'll pass it back on to the moderators, and yeah, we look forward to anyone who's establishing this. Like I said, it's patience. Definitely rely on each other, create this network, because yeah, it's going to take time, but it's definitely worthwhile, the efforts that we're all doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you're doing and all you shared with us and all the support you're giving to other folks who are working on getting started. It's so wonderful to hear about all you've been doing, and great graphics too. I'm impressed with your social media savvy. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, this is our third and final chapter. This is a state-based chapter, the Ohio Counselors for Social Justice chapter. So I will turn it over to.
You can leave it there. We only have one slide. This one. Yeah, that's quite the presentation to follow up. So, but thank you for that. Again, my name is Tanya Middleton, and I'm the president of OCSJ, which is the Ohio Counselors for Social Justice. And actually, we have a new president coming in, Emily Baker, but I'm acting as still current president today. We're a newer chapter, and we represent pretty much all of the schools and counselors that are in Ohio. Started in 2017 by your own Dr. Dollar Hyde, who saw a need, to empower, unite, and support counselors in the promotion of social justice throughout Ohio. Working to identify confronting oppressive systems of privilege and power that affect our clients and profession in our state. So we're a state chapter, but we're spread across multiple schools. I was from the University of Akron, Ohio State. We had some people from Dayton that were also a part of our core team as well. So with us just starting out, we have about 75 members on paper, but our core group is really just the executive board, and that's who kind of meets to plan and to practice that patience, I think that Alejandro spoke to with getting started with this chapter. We've probably focused a lot this year on membership building and branding. So we've done a couple of presentations related to just advocacy and what does that look like? I mean, we talk so much about what is social justice and we need to do it, but the sad part about it is a lot of counselors don't even really know what that means. They're just kind of just going along, oh, we got to do social justice, but we start at the basis of educating our counselors in Ohio and trying to get them to a degree where they can actually understand why we do it and why it's necessary to do that. Part of that we're doing is we're working with our legislative committee. They have a legislative advocacy day every year, and we all know some of the rules and the laws that we abide by are the ones that's actually oppressing most of our people that we do deal with. So we have a good connection with our government relations committee, and we're working on a lot of projects with them just to educate about the legislative process and what we can do from that end to dismantle some of the oppressive systems that are out here now. We speak a lot to, just the need to be informed on the government policies and what that means for our clients as well as for ourselves. We were working on a collaboration with them for a big conference that they were doing in April, but due to COVID, we kind of got pushed back and canceled on that, but I'm hoping that we can go ahead with that next year. And that's putting together a webinar explaining advocacy, explaining social justice and the need for us to do it and how it does impact our clients. And that will be something that will be put out to OCA, for the counselors that are interested in joining up with our brand. Something else that we do is, we look at teaming up with other divisions that do, every division needs to do social justice. We do realize that. So we're teaming up with SAGE, which is the Society for Sexual Affectional, Intersex, and Gender Expressive Group. I said it all right. Yeah. We're teaming up with them. We team up with OAMCD just to build those collaborations and build that support, because as a team, we can definitely grow together. And just, we kind of doing the same things. You're over here, now let's come together and see how we can work together to push this mission up. We've also done a couple of presentations this year. We're going to do social justice, social distancing from social justice is the name of our thing. So even though we're all shut down, that doesn't mean that you can't move and that you can't, move forward and continue to educate and advocate. We're all at different parts of the state, but that does not mean that we can't come together and be a collective unit. So we're just coming up with some creative ways of how you can continue to get involved. With a lot of the protests and the thing that were going on up here in Ohio related to, the murders that occurred. Everybody doesn't want to necessarily go down and protest. We got a lot of information about that. Well, I don't want to protest, so what is it that I can do? And it's not just about writing a letter to legislator, but it's about other things that you can do. You can donate money. You can, get on social media and be active. There are a lot of different methods outside of just going and being, being a number or being somewhere where you're not comfortable at. So we're going to speak a lot about that in our upcoming presentation in October. But as I say, that we really are a newer group, and we're really just now, I would say, in our third year trying to find our footing. We have a good core team now that's ready to actually get out and do some grassroots work. And hearing from, the two chapters before me, I'm going to have to pick your brain a little bit on how we can get out and get on the ground running with a lot of our work and get beyond the words and more towards the action. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think that we're all looking for ways to continue engaging in advocacy. So your social media, or social justice in a time of social distance sounds like right on the money in terms of what people are needing and would be useful. I was also noticing people are really interested in some of the presentations that other chapters are putting on. And so I'm wondering if there's a way, we always, Franny's our wonderful I forget what your title is, Franny, but you do all the like sharing of the events and what's happening and, how to log on, all that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if there's also a way to think about how we can promote or share, have a way to share out some of the things that the chapters are doing. Because if it's an event that other folks might be interested in or would be able to attend, like, that might be also a good resource as well. I don't know, Granny, that might be up your, I see you unmuted yourself, so you want to respond?
Yeah, well, we have a membership page on our website, and I can definitely share resources from different chapters. We can highlight the chapters. And then I'm thinking that perhaps we could even, I have a communications request form. Maybe we could send that out to everybody. If you have an event coming up that you'd like us to feature, I'd love to share that. So I will work on that and expect to hear from me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you can, Franny, I don't know, maybe you can share the form in the chat. And then that way folks in the chapters, if you're doing something that you want to be advertised, like you want it to be sent out to all of the CSJ members, you can request that. And Franny does awesome work with that. Thank you, Franny.
Thank you. And also feel free to email any information that you'd like to share to info@counseling-csj.org, and I'll put it in the chat as well. But I want to make one that's specific, a form specific for the chapters, so I'll get back to you on that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. So now we've heard sort of what some of the chapters are doing, some of the awesome work they're doing. We've heard a few recommendations already. I love the recommendation of patience. I think that is a good recommendation for all of us in all areas of our life, probably. Persistence, probably also patience and persistence. But I wanted just to kind of throw it back to the chapters and see if there were any like specific recommendations that you wanted to make to, well, first, just for other folks that are thinking about starting chapters. That was sort of my initial intent, but also these could be best practices or recommendations that you have that you want CSJ to do to support you better as a chapter. So it could be either. And I thought we would just kind of give every chapter a chance to speak to this again, and I'll just go in reverse order. So Tanya, I'm gonna put you back on the spot if that's okay, and just ask you if there are any additional recommendations that you would make to folks who are thinking about starting a chapter, interested in starting a chapter, or things that you would like CSJ National to know or to do to support your chapter or other chapters.
For me, again, as I mentioned, I'm probably like the third president of Ohio, with it being a newer chapter, but just kind of finding individuals who are motivated and committed to the cause and working is going to be the key. I think a lot of times people may join, certain committees or things just to say, well, I did this, but not really seeing the work and the value of what it is that we do. So just being patient and getting a committee that is committed to the cause is really what I would, and really knowing why we do what we do. I'm really big on that education piece. I don't want to just go through the motions and say, oh, I'm social justice and I'm advocating, but really just educating and getting a basic understanding of why it is that we do that. And also, just collaborating with other groups around us as well, just to make sure that we're touching everyone, not just, oh, this is social justice over here and this is, advocacy. We're kind of doing everything together. Is going to be key. I think things like this help when the showcase, and just this is my first time actually joining up with the larger CSJ chapter, but just learning from other groups how they were able to grow and build and do certain things out in the community, as far as just action and having these networking opportunities to learn, and really just grow. I would love to see something like this at an actual conference. I don't know if you all do that though, but probably jumping ahead of myself, but yeah, just you know, on a larger scale, being able to network and just piggyback off of what someone else is doing and get advice and support that way.
Yes, the plan is to keep doing these on a regular basis, which I'll talk about at the end. So we're on the same wavelength there. And yeah, certainly I think what you said is really important for folks to take to heart, both, you know, finding committed people who are going to push this through. It's tough with volunteer organizations, right? Because people have other obligations, they have other things going on. So how do you find your core group of people? And then I also appreciate what you said about sort of the education piece, making sure this comes from a place of like deep understanding and not a place of like, I'm reacting, I feel guilty, I feel upset. Like those things are happening for sure, but also we want to make sure that we're really grounded in an understanding of the communities that we're trying to serve, an understanding of advocacy, that we're in partnership with folks we're trying to advocate on behalf of, that we're in collaboration with communities. So I appreciated those points you were making. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay, so going in reverse order, the UT Rio Grande Valley chapter, any advice you want to add to what you shared earlier?
Yes, and our faculty advisor, Dr. Itzang, also wants to add on. So I'll just go ahead and start off. And it's elaborating on the whole notion of being strategic, which is very much important. So that's another thing that at least from our program, I mean, our chapter, we cannot stress enough. And I mean, it is unfortunate that we have to mention that, like, be strategic, because we shouldn't have to be strategic about advocating or about reaching out for our profession to advocate for our communities. But unfortunately, that does happen. And by what I'll give the instance, for example, when I was first starting the program, I wasn't a student yet, but I was about to start in the fall, and it was still in the summer, so I wanted to get ahead of the curve and start recruiting. And so I sent an email to all the faculty on my program, and from our program, we do have, I don't know the specific number, but I want to say that we have about half faculty who are Hispanic. So we do, which is a background of our university is 90% Hispanic. So our faculty, for the most part, do match our students. But even then, so from all the emails I've sent, none of the faculty responded regarding that, but one professor did respond. And so it was very much, and so the program was called Counseling and Guidance at the time. And so it's very much, well, we no longer are counseling and guidance. We are only counseling. And we already have two student organizations in counseling, and we're a multi-sided campus. We're a multi-campus. So he mentioned, like, we already have the Bronxville campus and we already have the Edinburgh campus. And then, of course, you know, he went through the formalities where he said, you know, and have you gone through the proper channels? Have you spoken to our student involvement? You cannot be recruiting if you're not an official organization. And then he actually went and reported me to the chair. And so the chair actually reached out to me and told me to cease recruiting. So these are potential instances that can happen. I mean, not all faculty are going to be supportive. Not all students are going to be supportive. But that on my part, that hasn't stopped me from being very aggressive in my recruitment. Any event I have, I always post it on our Blackboard page, and anyone who's ever signed up always gets a text and an email reminder. And so it's knowing who, like I said, being strategic about knowing who your allies are, and relying on them when you need support and that. So and then growing the base slowly, and then, you know, as the base grows larger, you get to add on more as to your capabilities. And I'll pass it off to Dr. Itznaga.
Thank you, Alex. And one of the things that I wanted to share, piece of advice, was exactly what Alex says. You have to grow your courage. This kind of work takes a lot of courage. It takes a thick skin. As the founder of the Texas Counselors for Social Justice in 2007, I met with a lot of resistance that I never saw coming. I thought everybody was for social justice. And I quickly found out that there are lots of people that are afraid of what that means and what our intentions are, a lot of misconceptions. And so it takes, like Alejandro said, patience, but also a lot of courage. Don't be dissuaded. Don't be discouraged. Just keep on going. Find your tribe, find the people that share the same values that you do, and keep moving forward. Dr. Middleton also alluded to the fact that we have to educate people about what we do, because there are a lot of misconceptions about it. The second thing I want to recommend is that you continue to network. We live in a part of the country that's relatively isolated. We say that the Rio Grande Valley is behind the tortilla curtain. And so our students are not exposed to a lot of cultural and ethnic diversity. And to have this forum to expose students to counselors like you all who are African American and who represent the SAGE community, and other ethnic groups is marvelous for us, because we don't get that at UTRGV. We are largely a Hispanic serving institution. Network, reach out. I know that you all see immigration, human rights violations on the news just about every day. I'd like to offer the CSJ-RGV chapter as a cultural informant for your groups. Call us, have our students meet with your students. Let's do some peer-to-peer networking where we can find out more about the movements that are prevalent in your geographical area, and you can find out more about the movements that we work with on a daily basis. There's nothing like it. We've got to reach across geographical lines and learn from each other and learn about each other and build relationships with each other. Most importantly, it's not enough to hear about each other in our multicultural class. We need to build relationships with each other and get to know each other. So I was really heartened to see in the chat box that you all are interested in Mexican folk healing. And so we would love to invite you to those presentations and hope that you'll invite us to yours as well.
Thank you so much. I'm feeling very inspired and very moved by just all that you are sharing, and the connections that we're beginning to build and the work that you're all doing. So thank you. Thank you. All right, Mississippi State University.
I definitely agree with all the things that have already been said. I think the one thing that I would add to that is, as students, when we're a student, we have a voice that we don't have. We have a certain power, I think, that we don't always recognize that we have as students. So I would definitely encourage you to be strategic and be careful, but also recognize that as students, you do have the power to speak to your faculty and your department heads and express your desires and the things that you want to see happen. But it does take courage. And I can't say that things that I've been doing, that I haven't been anxious about them. I haven't worried about them. They haven't made me work extra hard to make sure there's no reason why I'm not going to get the grades that I deserve. But part of my not being so worried, I guess, about that is because we do have wonderful faculty that support us. And I think that maybe in some ways that's a difference because I'm a doctoral student and we typically take our courses with the same 3 to 4 professors. So maybe that's different in some ways. So I'm certainly not saying that you throw caution to the wind and you go and you demand all these things, but I am encouraging you to recognize the power that you have to be able to voice your concern, because your voice matters and it should be heard. And your faculty and your department heads, that is part of their responsibility to you as a student, is to hear from you and to put into action, real action, the things that you request. So, you know, once you've been able to establish some organization and you're able to slowly make requests, I think that just practicing those things in a way that provides you some insulation, but going out and asking for the things that you feel like you need, I think is an important thing. And I have some other practical recommendations. So for example, I've been able to go into some of our classes. I've been co-teaching some classes. For the last 2 semesters, I've been co-teaching multicultural counseling. So that is like my time to be able to say, hello, don't you want to be a member of Counselors for Social Justice? And these are all the things that we do. So finding those professors that are okay with you coming in and having a student come in and provide a presentation on something, or teaching a class on a particular topic. So for us at Mississippi State, you know, part of our training for sure as doctoral students is to get that teaching piece. So we are very much encouraged to teach. If you're not co-teaching specifically with a professor for the entire semester, that you come in as a guest lecturer and you lecture on a particular topic that you feel that you have command of. So I encourage you guys to do that and to take that as an opportunity to talk about Counselors for Social Justice and use that as a tool to be able to recruit members. Also, something else, when you're writing your bylaws, this is, I don't know, I guess know first of all what your universities are going to require, but our university required us to make an amendment to our bylaws relating to our dues. So we had to put some language in that said that we would vote on the amount of the dues every year. So we couldn't make a statement that said dues would be $7 or whatever your amount is going to be. We had to have some language in there that said that every year we were going to vote on what the dues would be and how they would be established, and you know that would have to be approved by a quorum. And something else, know how to get your membership directly to CSJ National so they can become members of CSJ National. You know, don't have them go out and do a whole ACA membership because that can sometimes be restrictive. You know, so if you can show them exactly how to only become a member of CSJ, even though we want them to become members of ACA, but if that's not where they are right now, or even if that's something that they can't afford, show them how to be able to log on to ACA and go and just become a member of the division, or to be able to phone and call them, which is, to me, much simpler, is to call and do the membership. But make sure that you work those things out and you tell people that they don't have to be a member of ACA if that's not something they can do. You know, of course, we don't want to say, we want to encourage them, obviously, to be members of ACA, but we don't want that to be the reason why they can't be members of CSJ. Let's see. I think that's it. I'm just going over my notes and one last thing here. This is the last thing. Find, like Alejandro said, organizations that you can collaborate with. And one that I think most university chapters have is a Chi Sigma Iota. So figure out if you can do some networking with Chi Sig. Most of our members are also members of Chi Sig, so that can help you also with recruiting your members, but also getting your projects off the ground if you can collaborate with them on some things that they need to do, because they're likely needing to partner and also accomplish some networking goals or some projects for the semester. So those are all my thoughts and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really good advice and good suggestions in terms of navigating chapters, navigating if you're within a university, navigating that structure, if you're thinking about a state chapter, thinking about what the navigation is there. Really good advice. Thank you so much. Before we move on to questions, comments, and just kind of open the floor up, I just want to point out the chat to everyone. Franny, who is a whiz on the forms, created a chapter showcase survey, which I think, Franny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'll ask for your contact information as well, so we can reach back out to you after this. So we would love for you to fill that out so we can make sure that we keep track of folks who are here tonight and just make sure we stay in contact with everyone. I am going to just now sort of open the floor to see if there are any questions, comments, people want to reach out and be connected to one another, just anything. The floor is open. So feel free to unmute yourself and speak up.
Hi, I'm Megan McAndrew. I'm from George Mason University. And there's a couple of us that are looking to start a chapter of CSJ at George Mason. And I just want to say thank you guys all. I had a whole list of questions and you guys all answered them during the showcase. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and for talking about your CSJ chapter, because it truly means the world to us. We're starting from ground zero. And Dr. Goodwin's been nothing but helpful during this process. So I want to say thank you to her as well. So any tips and tricks, I can put my email in the chat box if you want to reach out to me directly, but we're open to all the tips and tricks and all the help that we can get. So thank you guys again.
Thanks, Megan. I didn't pay her to say that.
She did it. It's true. It just comes from my own will.
But I'm super excited that there are students interested in starting a chapter at Mason. So anything else? Other questions, other comments, feedback, ideas?
Hi, I'm Brianne. I am at SMU in Dallas, and we're working to start a chapter here. There is a map on the CSJ website of chapters, but it's not up to date. So could we get that up to date, maybe get it in list form, and just have the accurate contact information? Because one of the things I did before this was to try to find as many chapters as I could and reach out to people. But I only got so many responses, and I know part of that's because the contact info wasn't correct. So that would be very helpful for keeping us all in contact.
Yes, yes, that is in the works. Your wish will be granted hopefully sooner rather than later. Sean and I have been working on that. It took us a little while to get, just in the transition, it took us, when we took over as membership chairs, some time to get access to everything, unfortunately. So some of you who were asking for things in the interim kind of probably saw the result of that. So we're working on just making sure that we have access to everything. We have everything organized. Sean has been doing a lot of work on that, and so that should be, I would say in the next month or so. Everything has sort of been, in full disclosure, this was in the works, and then COVID happened, and then the Black Lives Matter protests and trying to address systemic racism and police brutality. So things have gotten quite busy, and so we're not moving quite as quickly as we had hoped in terms of updating that. But it's in the works. I'm on the same page as you, and we're working on it. So thank you.
If I can add, Rianne, if we can try to stay in contact so that if there's any responses that we need to do as a state, that'd be pretty good. So like the state of Texas, like any responses that we could work on, or just networking from a state perspective. So yeah, definitely, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds great.
Thank you. Already connecting. Other folks, and it could be, folks who weren't a part of a chapter, or folks who were. If you have other things you want to share, other comments, questions, the floor is open.
Could I chime in? Okay, so I was president at the University of Arizona several years ago, and I just want to share one tidbit of advice, you're not alone. And so lean on your advisors, lean on your, board members, lean on CSJ National. We're here to support you. So just know that you're not alone. I know that sometimes it can kind of seem like that, or, there's a lot going on. So just know that we're here to support you and you're not alone. Thanks.
Thank you, Franny.
Thanks, Franny. That's really, really important because it feels like we're alone sometimes.
I think to add to that, because I'm with the RGV chapter, one of the things that kind of sometimes gets you down is when you don't have that many members or not many people attend. And that can be very heartbreaking sometimes. You're just like, you're working so hard trying to gather everybody, and it can just be really hard just to see maybe 3-4 people show up to an online meeting. But you have to realize that you have 4 people, and that's a good thing rather than just having nobody there. So if you're starting or you do have a chapter, just realize that, you know what, something is better than nothing, and just appreciate the people that are there to support you. So that's some advice that I've been taking from.
That's a great point. And I know that happens, with student, I think maybe particularly with student chapters, because there's so many things that are competing for your time and your attention, and you're working sometimes and doing school. So it's a lot of work. So yeah, keeping going, even if you don't have the turnout that you want, I think is really important. And I think thinking creatively about what are the ways that might actually work for people to participate. So it might not look like, pre-COVID, it might not look like everybody showing up to an event in person at a particular time, but maybe there are other ways to provide opportunities for people to be involved that are more accessible to them depending on their circumstances. So I think it takes some persistence and some creativity too.
I had a question. What are the different structures of the chapter? So you have student, I see the state. Are there different structures as well?
Yeah, the 2 that have so far been approved by the board, or that had been approved by the board, were the university chapter and the state-based chapter. And then the board was also looking at approving like regional chapters. So like a South Florida chapter, or that kind of thing. And I would defer to my colleagues who are on the board. Franny, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we just had a board meeting like a week or 2 ago, and we talked about that, and we're gonna we set up a task force to really talk about the regional chapters and set up that structure. So you should be hearing about that in the next probably month or 2.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I can go ahead and chime in since there's a quiet moment here. I know this has been said already, but I just wanted to thank all of our presenters today from MSU, UTR-GV, and then also Ohio CSJ. We came with a lot of questions, and we've got a lot of notes. I'm currently working with a team at George Mason University to bring a chapter there. So I know that all of us are super inspired and super eager to get to work, but all of your feedback and your tips are definitely going to be helpful. And I love, how everybody's kind of echoed the sentiment about leaning into that network and leaning into the supports that exist here, because I think when you are kind of creating something from the ground up, it can be really kind of overwhelming. And so it's nice to know that there are people to contact and people here that will kind of help us navigate this uncharted territory. So thank you all so much for your time and for, just everything that you guys have shared.
Thanks, Tyler. Other folks have questions, suggestions, ideas?
I have a request. When you fill out the survey, if in the comments you could put that you are looking to create a chapter, then we could send you resources and maybe connect you all. Just a thought. So thank you.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Fanny.
So I'm going to put a couple of things in the chat just for everybody so we don't go back to screen sharing because I think it's easier to see folks this way, but I'm just going to put a couple of notes here. So one is that our website is being, oh, where'd it go? There it is. So if you scroll up, our website is being updated, but please check back later this summer. Hopefully in the next month, we'll have that up and ready to go. So that's a note about the website. If you have any comments, suggestions, needs, anything related to membership or chapters, I put both my email address as well as Dr. Sean Smith's email, my membership committee co-chair, in there. So I invite you to reach out to us. And then the last thing I'll just put there is that we're planning on doing more of these events. And so we're planning on doing them 3 times a year. We'll do, in the summer, we'll do a showcase. In the fall, probably October, we'll do a chapter networking event. And then we'll do another chapter town hall networking event in the spring before ACA. And then assuming there's an ACA, we will do something at ACA as well, but these will be besides ACA. So just kind of look out for that. That'll be our regular rotation. And certainly we can have additional events besides that, but we're going to try to keep that regular schedule so you know you can count on that, and those will happen on a regular basis. Oh, movie nights, I like it. Who got to watch Hamilton?
It was so good. I watched it already like 10 times. It's fine.
Good. Other thoughts, other things you want to share, maybe just about the work you're doing, interests in terms of social justice, anything people want to share. It's an opportunity to kind of connect with one another.
I have a practical question. How long does it usually take after you submit your application to CSJ before you're approved to be a chapter?
It shouldn't take more. It should take a month at the most because the CSJ board has the final sign off. And so once it comes to Sean and I, now that we have access to the way it's submitted, then we review the applications. And if it's complete, then we make a recommendation to the board that it be approved. It should go to the next board meeting, and the board meets monthly. And then you would find out after that. So yeah, so I would say about a month-ish.
And I just wanted to add to that, just keep in mind that your university process will also need to be a part of your timetable. And continuing to contact the individuals who are in charge of approving your university organization, if you're planning a university organization, because we ended up having to send message after message, like, what's going on? We had our approval from CSJ National, but we just had to keep waiting for the university to approve our things. And then when we had something wrong with the bylaws, then that was even another month, which technically means like those kind of things that I was telling you about, like your membership dues and things like that. Like if you can find out what kind of things are going to be required for that, and make sure that you have most of those things or as much correct in your bylaws. We thought like we had our stuff just perfect. So I was like kind of heartbroken that they sent it back and was like, no, you need to change this. And then you got to wait a whole nother month to for us to meet again and approve your organization. So definitely knowing what your university requires in terms of your membership is important, and you need to factor that into your timetable.
Yeah, thank you. So our university has it so that when you first apply, you are a temporary organization and it takes a year for you to become a full one. In that temporary period, you're not supposed to use the university name as a part of your organization name. Does anyone else, is their school set up like that? Because my question is how to market. Because if we just put counselors for social justice, it's, I mean, we want to be more specific and say it's SMU, you know, at our university, but we also, until we're official, which will take a whole nother year, technically not supposed to use the name. So did anyone else have that conflict, and how did you resolve it?
I've I can answer, and if anyone else too. For us, yes, we have the same thing, or we cannot list the university at all in any student organizations. And a lot of it is liability. They just want to distance themselves from anything the organization may do. But for us, though, what we did is, so we're Grande Valley, like that's basically the region. So we just decided to use the region we are in um, as part of the name. But I mean, it's like I said, we happen to be a region. I mean, if it was a city, though, I mean that kind of, I guess, like, you know, for like the song and the lyricy of the acronym. But I mean that could be maybe what you can use, like the acronym of the city in the community that you're servicing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if other folks have advice on that. I haven't run into that issue, Brianne, so but there might be other I mean, you could say like North Texas or something, I guess, although North Texas is a university too. Yeah, I wonder, so and other folks may have had different experiences, but you don't have to register as a student organization at a university. So that's one way that you could start your chapter potentially, but then it sounds like they're saying that they don't want you to even say it's affiliated with the university without those approvals. So that, yeah, that is very tricky. I actually wonder, feel free to chime in if folks have other ideas, but I actually wonder if you ask them, if you say, so where does that leave us, right? Like if you sort of reply back to whoever's telling you that and say, so what advice do you give chapters then? Like how are they supposed to move forward if they're not able to use that name? Like what they would, if they would be able to provide some recommendations or some examples of what other student organizations have done. Because I'm not sure what, you know, I'm not sure what would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so fortunately we have a student working with us who went to undergrad here, and she started an organization, so she has some connections, so she's asking that very question, and so we'll see what they say.
Good, okay.
I'm also wondering, would you be competing with any other CSJ chapters? So if you are saying counselors for social justice, would you be able to use that and kind of own that space in your region for the next year? Because if you can, then that could really be a way for you to be able to move forward if there's nobody else that you'd be confused with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the University of North Texas, which you're alluding to, they are about an hour and away, but it's still, we may be able to do that. I think that there's enough distance that may work for the next year.
Good question.
For help with that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, I was just saying thank you all for help with that.
Well, thank you for raising that, because I think, you know, that's an example of a like sort of a tricky issue that doesn't have to do with these like grand goals that we have, but is part of navigating these structures and figuring out how to move things forward. That, you know, sometimes there are these sort of unnecessary roadblocks, I think, that pop up, and so if we can support one another in trying to navigate those and overcome them. I think, that's part of our work.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Hey, Brianne, have we talked to Dr. Logan about that yet? Do you know if she knows anything about it?
I have not, but it's on the list of things to do.
Oh.
Good. Good. All right. Other questions, other things you would like in terms of support, information?
Maybe we could also share like fun events that we've had at our chapters. I don't know. I guess I'll start. I gotta think now. We had an Empower Hour after the Kavanaugh confirmation, and we wrote letters to our senators. We wrote letters, to everybody, and to Christine as well, Blasey Ford. So that's just one idea, but I'd love to hear other ideas as well. So
Thanks for sharing, Franny. Yeah. Other examples of actions for social justice you've taken with your chapter, or maybe just if you're not a part of a chapter, actions for social justice that you've engaged in that you might help inspire us.
Hey, I'm gonna chime in because I love to talk. Anyone who knows me knows that. My name is Margarita Martinez. I work at a community college, and right now the community college, we have a new college president. And what I'm doing is we're supposed to hire a chief diversity officer. We're supposed to have one, but of course we don't have one, even though we're the 14th largest school in the United States, just so you know the size of my community college. And so what I and a teaching faculty did is we're starting a grassroots organization at the college. We're not waiting for the school. Like, we don't have time for it. So we're starting a grassroots where we're going to research, learn, and lobby and do advocacy. And it was really exciting because she came to curriculum committee and she was talking about how we need to change how we do curriculum, make it more inclusive and have statements and just all the stuff that we need to do for like liberation psychology and like when you flip the classroom and all the things that we've been proven that has helped students, and met with so much adversity. And then we just started talking and we started a group. We just send out invitations to people that we know who like to cause trouble at the college, and people are getting wind of it. And we're going to get tapped soon from leadership and being like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, what are you doing? So that's what I'm doing at the college. Know that you can be empowered at whatever level you're in. I'm a master's level professional, and I've been able to move very seamlessly in organizations without a PhD. Not that I'm hating on counselor educators or people who are doing doc programs. I'm just saying that everyone is welcome to the table and everyone has something valuable to add. So at the community college, we're doing stuff and we're sending out emails, sending out invites, and we're just gonna get started. Maybe we'll do some research, maybe we'll do breakout groups, maybe folks of color will go in another breakout so that we don't get triggered by white folks trying to figure their lives out, right? So we're gonna do all sorts of great stuff, and then we're gonna take the lobbying. We're gonna go to the policy, and we're gonna go to administrators and the answer at my college is, well, it's legislations, Virginia legislation, cool. We have a lobbyer. We're gonna go straight to the senators and stuff, because Virginia, in case anyone doesn't know, Virginia is making strides. We have some really great laws that just passed. Some of the first and best trans inclusive, queer inclusive. Hell, we passed the Hair Act. So now women of color, especially Black women, won't be prejudiced for their hair. Like dumb stuff that we should have done a long time ago. So this is the time to hit. So get excited and get involved and bring everyone to the table. Faculty, staff, students, bring everyone, because people got stuff to do and lived experiences is a thing, right? So that's all I had to add. Thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you for sharing. Causing some good trouble. All right, last call for anything anybody wants to share. Leave us on a note of feeling inspired and empowered and ready to go out and start chapters, do the work, connect with one another, support one another. I think probably most importantly, I would underscore that, support one another. Right, well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Like I said, we're a work in progress. We're we're working on the forums, working on the website, working on getting more information for you all and more supports and resources for you all. So just know that that's happening, that we're working on that, and that hopefully we'll be able to roll that out in the next month, I would hope. In the meantime, I hope you guys are all staying safe, taking care of one another, and feel free to reach out if there's anything that that I can do or that Sean and I can do as membership co-chairs to support you in your work. We love and welcome ideas. We we get so many ideas and so much inspiration from hearing about the work that you all are doing. So don't hesitate if there's something that you think we could be doing or that you could share about what you're doing. We would love to hear from you. So keep up the good work and take care. Bye, everyone. And thanks to our presenters for sharing your stories. Yeah, thank you so much.